Yeah. Okay. So hybrid modeling. So what is the need for the hybrid modeling and the mixed scenarios? So the hybrid modeling is, so we have a BW models, right? So we have data in S4, and we do extractors to bring the data from S4 to BW. So, and we do the modeling, BW modeling, the different layers of modeling we do, and finally we present it in the reports. Some data which is not there in the S4 and which comes from different source systems, and as we have a HANA as a database that can be directly stored in the HANA tables, right? So they are not uh, SAP extractors, so we don't have, so directly it can be different using the different extraction HANA extraction techniques like SDAS. So some any other techniques we can extract the data into HANA database, and that will be stored. So that we can mix with the BW models, okay, and we can use that HANA modeling in BW reports. Okay, so that is consuming HANA, and vice versa, we can consume whatever we have extracted the data into into BW, and we have built models, right? So you have done a lot of the transformations, and finally we achieved the final layer. So either it's in a composite provider, ADS4, or a query. So that can be again used in the HANA views. Yeah, and on using the HANA views, and you can build without query. So directly the HANA views can be directly consumed in Fury and even SAC. So there are direct reporting tools, right? In S4, we have those reporting tools, so we can directly consume this HANA models. So depends on the business requirement, we will decide like what modeling we have to do. Is it like a BW modeling or a pure BW modeling we have to do, or it's a does it pure HANA modeling, or we have to do the hybrid modeling? Hybrid modeling in the sense like mix the data of HANA database data like HANA views, and combine it with the BW DSOs in a you can combine it in a composite provider, and also you can generate external HANA views on top of by enabling the properties in the ADSO composite provider query on info objects. Then it will create a calculation view, and that can be consumed in a HANA views, and we can do the reporting on those HANA views as well. Okay, so yeah, this is the topic we are going to cover. So it has two lessons. First one is generating external HANA views. Okay, and the second one is mixed scenarios, implement mixed scenarios. So the first lesson we'll learn how to create HANA views on top of BW models, BW objects. Okay, so we can create, so it will have ADS4s, BW query, info object. Yeah, so these are the four objects which supports external HANA views. ADS4s, composite provider, info object with characteristics, and BW queries, and also the local composite providers, which are similar to the composite providers. Preparation of creation of this is very simple, right? So you have to just tick mark this one, external HANA view, an ADSO or query info object anywhere. And when you activate the ADSO or when you save the query, so it will automatically generate external HANA view. So, and it will go and store in BW schema, BW manager schema, and also it will create entry. It's just big schema. Okay. Um, so you can see here, right? So there's a database tables. Like if you have ADSO, so it will have underneath, it will have a different tables, right? We a new table, active table, and all those things. And finally we have a TSO. And when you enable the external HANA view, so it can it will create a calculation view, and it will store in SAP uh, models. And when it creates, so when we want to consume it in HANA database, so it require privileges. Okay, BW will have analytical privileges, right? And HANA will have HANA privileges. So what system will do? System will automatically create all those privileges which are required, and it will, for that user, DB user, it will assign all those privileges. Okay, so yeah, these are the so before we create uh, HANA views, so there are some prerequisites. Yeah, the creation is very simple. Yeah, just you enable a tick mark, and you, when you activate, and it will automatically create them. But before we do that, it requires some pre-settings which are prerequisites. So then only it will generate the HANA views with proper authorizations. Okay, so if you see here, these are the settings it has to be done. First, when you are creating a, view, before creation, you have to check the user has been assigned to mapped with DB user. Okay, so let me show it in the system. So that is the first step. So for that, you have to log into your SAP GUI and go to SU01 transaction. It's a user maintenance. So my user ID is BWSME005. So I'm going there. Okay. So this is the one to assign DBMS user. So by default, it will be blank. So here you have to assign DBMS user ID. So my BW user is BWSME005. So for that one, it is DBSME. Yeah. So the correct, right? So which, so you already shared with all your DB user IDs and BW user IDs. So you have to map which is assigned to you. So it's a DB user ID you have to assign here. So then it establish a link between HANA database and BW. Okay. So whatever the models which you create, it will grant authorizations to this user ID. Okay, so this is the first step. And next one is define general customizations. So there's a transaction RS to HANA view. Okay, so you have to go and you have to make sure. So these are some standard settings are maintained. Okay, so in which package you are going to store this one? So by default, it is it should be, means if it is blank, you have to assign the correct name. So it will go into the system local BW2 HANA. So this is the package. All our views which we create, external views, all of them will go and store in this package, HANA package. Okay. Um, and the other important setting is assignment type. So here we have to give the direct assignment. So we have two types, multiple roles and direct assignment. So we have to give the direct assignment. and DB connection name. So generally in live scenario, so all these are done by the basis or security team. Yeah, so you will not come to know, or you may not have authorities to these transactions. Generally, security or basis team will do all this maintenance. But if your the project which you are using, so suppose if it is your responsibility to maintain, so you have to know all these things. You have to properly maintain all these settings. Okay. So once that is done, so then you can enable. You can go to the your BW object, and you can do the setting changes and activation. All these. Yeah, these are the just normal steps. Okay. And so once you do that, the second step is, so suppose you have multiple objects, right? So in your BW user, you have different uh, authorizations, and so and also the HANA views which you are going to create, so they have to be assigned with this uh, privileges. Okay. So these are mandatory. All these should be assigned. So for all the generated objects, HANA BW, so these are the objects. Like, how can we do that? How can we assign this one? So there is another transaction, uh, RS2 HANA. So all these like HANA managed, the SAP HANA external views, all these will start with RS2 HANA. Okay. So RS2 HANA is general, is the transaction code. If you go there, go to assign general privileges. Okay. Here you have all these tick marks, right? So assign the following privileges. So, and for which user you want to assign. Okay. So these are options to all users or the user which you want. So generally we have to go for the second one, specific list of users. So for which one you want to assign all these privileges. So my user ID BWSME005. So I'm assigning all these privileges to my user ID. So this is also another prerequisite. So then only you can be able to consume the views which you are generated in HANA. Okay. So all are green. So it has all the authorized, means all the privileges are assigned properly. Okay. This is the second step. And the next one is the session client must be correspond to BW HANA system. So our BW HANA system is client is 100, right? BW4 HANA client is 100. So this has to be assigned to my DB user. Okay. For that one, you have to go to your HANA model, and HANA models, go to security, users. You can see all users here under security. So I'll go to my user ID. HDB SME 0005. So this is my user. Okay, so here you can see the session client. Yeah, so it should be your same as your BW4 HANA client. So BW4 HANA client is 100, right? So this has to be assigned as a session client here. And you can save it. I think I don't have privileges. Uh, yeah, I don't have sufficient privileges to save this setting. Okay, so yeah, in these cases, so we have to take security or basis help. Uh, it basically the privileges. Yeah, so my user ID, the BW SME doesn't have HDB SME doesn't have sufficient authorizations to change the session client. Yeah, so but this has to be modified. So the training it is fine, but when in your real time, so you have to make sure the session client is exactly the same as BW client. Okay, so that is the other setting. Uh, if you prefer direct assignment privileges, it is required. BW user should be able to see the data generated view. And the next prerequisites are, yeah, so this we have already done assignment of BW4 HANA application user with the HANA user. So in S01 we have already done this one. Yeah. So next one is define a database connection. So in transaction DB COs, we have to maintain a database connection. Okay. Here I have already maintained. So like this, yeah, this is the one I have maintained. So if it doesn't, it should have DBMS, HDB. So HDB is basically HANA database. Okay, so this has to be maintained. Suppose if you want to create a new one with your user ID, you can have to click on edit and then create new entries. Here you can create a new entry. Connection name you can give anything, and this one should be HDB SAP HANA database. You have to choose this one. Okay, so the next one is in SM30, maintain view in a transaction SM30 to enhance BW user maintenance. So the one which we created here, right, the connection. So in DBCO, whatever the connection you have used, so that has to be maintained in the SM30 for user DBMS systems. We go to SM30. Give this view name, user DBMS system, and click on maintain. So here you have to maintain. I have already maintained here. So if you want to create a new one, a new connection, suppose if you create your own, so that has to be maintained here. New entries, and once you DB, whatever the DB connection you create in DBCO, that will be listed here. So you can choose that one and you can save it. Yeah. And so next is giving all the analysis authorizations where it is authorization relevant. So that's this you already know, right? Being a BW consultant, I think you all aware that. So in BW system, we create analysis authorization, right? Like in RSEC admin. So you give analysis authorization object you create, and so in that it will by default it will assign this one. Yeah. So these are will be assigned, and you have to assign. So suppose if you want to give access on company code, you want to make a company code as authorization relevant, and you want to restrict users to see only their company codes, right? So you have to create those many authorization objects and assign it to uh, the privileges, and all those can be assigned to the roles, BW roles. Okay, so what here it is saying is like you have to create for every info provider which is authorization relevant. So all of them has to be maintained, and they can be transferred to the HANA privileges. So how can you transfer that into HANA privileges is there's a transaction code. So the same one, the gen, RS gen. So here for which object you want to use or which user you want to transfer here. So replicate, when you select the user and say replicate authorization. So whatever the authorization objects which you have created means you used in your modeling. So all of them will be they'll create relevant authorization analysis authorizations in analytical privileges in SAP HANA. Okay, for BW authorization, it will create equivalent authorizations. So currently, I haven't used anything in my model, so I'm not executing this. So whenever you use anything authorization relevant info objects in your model, so then you have to perform this step. Yeah. So there's another transaction, RS to HANA view. So basically, uh, it has to check the assignment, everything is done correctly. Yeah. This is basically view. Okay. So the role should be this one, SAP HANA role. So generation. When you have this model, this role, then only it will allow you to create uh, external HANA views. Okay. So all these are prerequisites. Okay. Here you can see how to do the assignment. So in that. Okay. So once you configure all these prerequisites, all these prerequisite configuration is done. So then you can go and create external HANA views. Okay. Yeah. Before we are going to creation of external HANA views, any questions on the prerequisites? Okay. No questions. So then move into the HANA views, external HANA views creation. So there are restrictions to external HANA views. So suppose if you uh, uh, when we are enabling that one, so we have to make sure all these all are so for info objects. So there are some restrictions, yeah, and also there are some restrictions, and also some limitations. Uh, for example, like if you create uh, external HANA view. So alpha conversion and date conversion, which are there in your info object, so that doesn't work. And if you're if you have display attributes, right? So those doesn't support, okay, because it will directly take the objects. It doesn't take all these display attributes. Non-cumulative key figures, okay. Uh, and key figures for which aggregation is set to no aggregation. So this also doesn't support. And key figures data type of date time related aggregation sum, uh, and additional restrictions on info objects. So these all are common to ADS4 and composite providers. So these are the restrictions. And so these are additional, like we discussed it, right? So info object can be, we can create an external HANA view and info object. So there again we have two options in external HANA view. So when we are creating a external HANA view and info object, so you have it can be available. HANA view can be available for the reporting, and HANA view can be consumed as a master data object. Okay, so and when you are creating, enabling this info object, so it has these restrictions. It must be characteristic with master data and text. So both master data and text checkbox should be enabled. So then only you can create external HANA view on that one. Yeah. If you define it as the attribute only, so then it doesn't support. You cannot create external HANA view on attribute only uh, master data. And the accessing of the HANA info object, it should be standard or SAP HANA view. Let me show you this. What all are these? Okay, show you on the system. Okay, I have created a G material info object. So yeah, to enable, so there are external HANA views, right? So external info object, it will, we can create two HANA views. So one is external HANA view for master data and external HANA view for HANA reporting. Okay. Uh, so the prerequisites are, we have to uh, enable this master data should be enabled. Okay, so I have this has text is also enabled. Okay, and it should not be attribute only. We should not have that one. So then only it will support. And the second one is, the second point is, master data access must be standard or HANA view, right? So when we say access, read access, right? So uh, with HANA, we have options like earlier in the standard BW. So we have to load this. We have to load master data. So then only we can use it, right? In the reporting. So all the attributes has to be loaded, and all text has to be loaded. With HANA, so we have options to different access type. You need not to load the data. So virtual data can be directly consumed in info object as attributes of the info object and also text of the info object. For that one, so we have, so generic access means it is a standard one. So we have, you have to load the data using your DTP. So you have to load and then you have to consume. So other one is SAP HANA view. Yeah. So when you say SAP HANA view, so you are not required to load any data. It's a virtual representation. So you can create a HANA view like master data. Suppose if you are creating a material, right? So you can material text and all the material. So all attributes are there, and so from all attributes you can take from MARM table, right? So that is a uh, S, uh, S4 HANA table, the standard table. So you can directly read that, and you can assign all the, you can do the mapping here to the attributes. Okay, you create a HANA view on Mara data, and you need not to load. So directly do the mapping. So it virtually, whatever the data is there in the Mara table, it will show here. So it will save a lot of space. So this is the advantage with access, read access type of HANA view. So also it will avoid duplication. So earlier, like it data was there even the two places, right? So it is there in the ECC table as for tables, and also we extract the data and nightly loads. We have to load the data, and again that has to. So it's a replication and duplication of the data. So that can be avoided. So for creation of uh, external HANA view, so the read method should be either standard in the sense direct access, or SAP HANA view. So then only it will, you can create HANA views on top of that master data. Okay, attribute only is, it doesn't support. So and also info objects must not have navigational attributes that are authorization relevant. If you have anything, then it will not allow you to create. And compound characteristics are added as simple info objects. So if you have so this one doesn't have. So if uh, you have a compounding key, right? So when you have a compounding key, so then uh, those info objects, even though it's a compounding here, so but when it is created a HANA view, it will create as a standard info, standard field. Okay, so these all are limitations when you are creating a DSO or info object, external HANA view on composite provided DSO and info object. And these are the additional uh, limitations when you are generating a HANA view on SAP BW queries. Yeah. So when you generate a HANA view, it doesn't use HANA features. It doesn't use BW features like analytical manager, and so we have all this caching and optimized execution plan. So basically, all these are features which will make the BW query makes execution faster. But basically, it helps in performance. Yeah. So these features doesn't support all these OLAP features doesn't support when you create HANA view. And also you cannot create all these. These are the additional. So hierarchy settings that doesn't support, and conditions. So we create conditions and exceptions in BW query, right? So all those doesn't support, and local calculations. So you create a calculation within the query. So those doesn't support, and zero suppression. Okay, and hidden keys, display attributes. So all these doesn't support uh, when you create a query, HANA view on a query. Okay, so there is a lot of restrictions on query. So in generally we go for views either on HANA views, external views on either on area source or on composite provider. Very rarely we go for views on query. Yeah. So these are the restrictions. So next one is administration. So before we move on to the next part, so any questions on the limitations and restrictions on BW objects when you're generating external HANA view? Any questions? Okay. So okay. So the next one is administration. Uh, so once the external HANA views are generated, so you have to check them, right? So whether okay, so the external HANA view is generated properly and or does it have any issues? So suppose if it has some issues, so there can be repaired. You have an option to repair the external HANA views. Okay, and also you can see what are the issues with that. Means what is it, does it have any authorization issues? Yeah. Uh, so all of them can be you can check all of them. So for that one, uh, there's a transaction. Yeah, RS2 HANA admin. Okay. Here it will show uh, all views which are generated from BW objects. Okay, and who is the user, all this is like object name and what type of object it is and who generated all the details like when and in which package it is stored. Okay, and what is the HANA view ID. You can check whether my HANA view is valid or not. Okay, so you can check all of them, so all users, or you can check your specific object. So suppose if this guy has created, right, so BWSM04 has created an FIGL ADS4. So I want to check, okay, so is it still valid or not? So I can go for select this one and check external HANA view. Okay, so this is green, so that means it is a valid one, so you can consume this one. So like that, uh, you can check some of them might fail. Okay, so if this one it is invalid. Yeah, so there are some issues in this DSO. That's why uh, it is not valid. So if you see the status here, it is not valid. So once you create your HANA view, so you have to come here and check. Okay, so what is the status like? Does it in a working condition? Or can I consume it in my HANA modeling or not? Okay, and in some cases we have a option to repair, but it doesn't work all the time. So suppose for here in this example, it has issue with the BWDSO, right? So that may not be able to correct. We cannot correct it from here, but I'm just trying. Can I repair it? Yeah. So you can do online. Okay. So it is not supporting. So first you have, so some of the generation means if the DSO is correct and it has some issues while generating the HANA view, so those can be fixed using this setting. But if it DSO itself having issues, so then you have to go to your DSO and you have to modify it. Yeah, you have to fix the issues there first. So and then again you have to when you activate the DSO and it will regenerate. Okay, and so another one is authorization check. You can do the authorization check from here for user, for which user you want to check authorization. So for me, I'm checking and also the consistency. Yeah, the model consistency generation. It will check. Uh, you can choose what all are the validations it has to do. Means what are the checks it has to do. So even I will select this one, general SAP HANA model generation. Yeah, because this is the one we are doing now. It may throw the error now because I'm unable to maintain the session client, right? So that is the mandatory, but I don't have authorization to modify my user. So that it may throw that error. Okay. So all this, like general generation setting, all these are fine. Yeah. So if you see map a DPS user, so we already done the mapping, right? So DBMS user can access the generated HANA view directly. Yes. So all this it will show. Since if you haven't managed S01, suppose if you miss to manage your mapping, DBMS user and BW HANA user mapping, so then it will say, it will throw the error for that one here. It will show you, tell you that, okay, so that mapping is not done. So all this you can see, so all the privileges, right? So we have already given select on sysbic is already given. So for this user, we have already given, right? So RS2 general in transaction code, general transaction. So all those are valid. So successfully done, except this session client. Okay. So this is relevant for some when we are using some modeling, but some models, even though the session client is not maintained, when it has a cross client supported object, so then it will allow us. Yeah. Okay. So here you can check the consistency, and also the general. You can check general settings here. Yeah. So the roles are correctly assigned or not. All this you can. Basically, this is an admin. From here, you can perform all your majority of your tasks which are related to external HANA views. Okay, so all our objects will store here in the system local BW4 HANA. All generated views will be there here. When you create a HANA view based on the ADS4 info object or composite provider, all of them will go here as a calculation view. When you create a query, when you generated a query, so it will be under the query, and under query it will show your user ID, not your composite provider or whatever the info source. Okay, so that one info provider. So what is your info provider, and then view which is generated. Okay, and so this admin you can do it from the BW cockpit, but in our training system it is not configured, so I cannot show you the BW cockpit. So for BW cockpit, this is the BW4 web is the transaction code. So when you say, generally when you give this go for this transaction, then it will open web-based BW cockpit. So there also you can do all this administration. Yeah, but here it is not maintained. BW cockpit setup is incomplete. Yeah, so we cannot see BW cockpit. Okay. Yeah. Now let us move on to. So we saw the what are the prerequisites and what are the limitations for generation of the external HANA view, and how to do the administration. Yeah. So then next on move on to the actual creation. So before moving to the creation of external HANA views, so do you have any questions? Okay, am I audible? Anyone is there? Sorry, I can hear pin drop silence.
Yes.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
Okay, okay, fine. Okay, so
what
now,
will be the difference for query views and normal calculation?
sorry, can you please
Uh,
repeat your question?
what will be the difference between like query views and calculation views?
Yeah, views are created. So both calculation wheel, the query and external view which you created on the query. Also, it is a calculation view only. So they work the same, but there are limitations when you are creating a query. Generate a calculation view on the query. So there are limitations, right? So suppose if you create conditions and exceptions in your query, and if you expect all of them has to show, but they doesn't show.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, that is the reason generally, because this query generally will have all those things, right? So you will have a calculated key figures, and you will have exception condition, yeah, and even calculated key figures also they doesn't show. So that is the reason, uh, in general, in the real time. So generally we go for composite provider, because composite provider will also have all the fields which are there on the query, right?
Yeah.
So general practice is to build a view on composite provider rather than on query. Yeah, but in the exceptional scenarios, so you have an option to create external views on query.
Okay. Yeah. Thank
Okay. Okay. So then move on to creation of external HANA views. Okay. So as I said, so we have option to create on 4 objects. Yeah. Uh, One is composite provider, ADS4, query, and info objects. So let me show all of them. So I have already created uh, all this. So the DS4s I have created. So just I'll show. Yeah, but to make them available, so you have to create first a DS4. So then all the transformations you create to load the data, then you can do the you can enable the external HANA view. Okay. So I'm not showing all everything like how to create a ADSO. I think it's already covered, right? In the previous sessions. So all of them are already covered. So yeah, then I'll directly jump into creation of external HANA view. Okay. Uh, so for every all these options, yeah. So you can for any ADSO with any setting, it will support to create external HANA view. Yeah, so you can create external HANA view on standard object, like which will have change log, active table, new table, and change log table, or you can use it on the staging data store object, and also data mods, data mod as the data store object. Okay, so you can choose any of this, and you can create external HANA view on any type of these ADSOs. Okay, so for enabling, just you click after once you create all your DSO fields, everything is done. Once you everything is ready, so then in a general, just click this one, external HANA view, and activate it. Yeah. So now just I'll uncheck it. Yeah. So when you uncheck, so when you check and activate, it will create HANA view in the BW managed info package, right? BW managed package. So when you uncheck it, it will delete it from there. Okay. I'm activating by unchecking first. So okay. Then go to content. Yeah. In the content, go to local system local, and here you can see all the calculation views. So you can refresh it to see the latest calculation views list, because I have deleted one, right? So yeah, so earlier 339, so now it reduced to 338. So that means that view is deleted. So it will generate with the same name. Yeah, the calculation view, when you activate, it will generate with the same name of your BW object. So you can search for that one, GSD. It is in alphabetical order. Yeah, if you see here, GST 001 doesn't exist, right? GST 001 doesn't exist. So now I'll enable this option and I'll reactivate it. Okay, then just refresh this. Yeah, 339. So the object is, the view is added here. EST 001. Yeah, this is a calculation view it's generated. Okay, so you can see the calculation view. Yeah, all my fields are there. In additional, it has created this one. Yeah, request translation, request transaction sequence number, because this is a default technical field in the DS4. So even though I haven't added the as a field there, but it will create here. Okay, and it also generate uh, the count. So one measure it will generate. Okay, you can see the data, and also it will create uh, parameters, input parameters, the key date. Okay, we are not going to use this, but if you want to uh, use this input parameters, so, we can use it, but uh, it depends on, like suppose in the view, if you want to enhance this view, yeah, and copy into the another view. So in those cases, so these are all helpful. But in general, we should not enhance the calculation view which is generated by the external HANA view, because whenever you do the changes and again you activate it. So suppose if you do the customization here, all you will lose the customization. Yeah, that is the reason it is not recommended to do the any customization on generated external HANA view. Okay, so suppose if you want to use this view, then you copy, and if you into the different view, and then you can do your additional enhancements. Okay, you can see the data, like whatever the data is there in the TSO, you can see it from here. So you can leave it the key value default, key date. Yeah, all my DSO data is showing here. You can consume this view in another view. Yeah, you can create another calculation view in your HANA schema, in a different schema. Okay, and you can use this calculation view over there. Okay, this is for ADS4.
That means we cannot modify this one, right? We need to copy this one. We can use and separate another calculation.
Yeah, you can directly consume this calculation view and another calculation view.
Okay.
So because this will be dynamically updated. So suppose if you do any changes in your ADS4, suppose if you add a field, or if you delete a field, so those changes will be updated in the calculation view, and it will read the data from your all your active new table. Yeah, so directly means it depends on the setting, like what setting you have. So it does directly read from those tables. Okay, so this is for ADSO. Yeah, the settings are simple. Uh, so now I have created a view, right? So I'll go and check whether my view. Okay, let me do even also composite provider. Then we'll go to composite provider and query. So we'll create 3 views, and then we will check in the admin how they does they are valid or not. So to go to again BW model. I have already created, yeah, this composite provider and query. All these I have created. So I am directly, because it is a very time consuming. So if you're in this session, if I start creating the composite provider, it is going to take time. So that's why I have created. When you are practicing, you can create all these composite providers and queries. So then you can try it out. So here in the composite provider, in the general, you have this checkbox, yeah, external HANA view. So here also, suppose if I uncheck this and activate it, you already saw, right? So earlier we already saw here, there's a HANA view with GSP SDCP001. You can see here because I have already created and enabled it, activated it, yeah, GSDCP001. So now when I uncheck this one and activate it, so it will delete it from here. This will be deleted. Let me refresh it. Yeah, 339 become 338. That means it's deleted the calculation view. Yeah, SDCP001 is not there. Okay. Now again I'll create, just activate it. Yeah, SDCP00 is created. Here also you can see the content of this calculation view. So whenever you create a calculation view, so make sure that you come here and validate. Yeah, validate in the sense like if you execute, it has to show the data. Means whatever the data is there in the DSO, it has to show here. Okay, data is showing here. So here I have created this composite provider on another DSO. Okay, so you saw there is a difference here, right? So it has in the earlier HANA view, it has only one aggregation step. So here, but it has projection and aggregation. So then it did the join here. Okay, so how this is done? Okay, so let me show you that one. Because it's a system generates automatically. Okay, why it is generated? I'll show you. So I created this composite provider. Yeah, this composite provider I have created on SD002. Okay, so in the SD002 is my sales order item. So in SD002, I have used quantity and unit. Yeah, so this is I have used my order unit, quantity unit. So that data type is unit. Yeah. So when we define this field of a data type of unit, the system will understand. Okay, so it require unit. Yeah, and it try to show the text of the unit. Right. So unit, suppose if it is kz, yeah, unit code is a 3 length character, right? So if it's a kz, that means it's a kilogram, and if it is a L, in a liters. So, but if it is show in the front end in the HANA view, if it is show in a L and kz, so users may not understand, right? It should be the proper representation with the text. So for that one, you need not to do anything. So the generated calculation you dynamically it will create. Yeah. So that is the reason you are seeing. So this additional text table and its propagation. T006 is a SAP standard table for unit text. Yeah, so all unit details will be maintained in this one. So the system has generated, yeah, and all the fields which are required. Sparse is basically when it did the filter on this one. Sparse is the long ways. So long ways, it is taking the user long ways. Okay, so my user is English, so it will take the text of English language and it will show that. So all this in general in the suppose when you are doing calculation view, so we have to take care of all this text join and the creation, all these filters and everything we have to take care, right? And when you are creating a HANA models. Whereas for the generated, the system automatically creates this and it will maintain all these details, all the joins and everything. So no need, you need not to worry about how to populate the text data and all these things. Yeah, that's the advantage. Okay.
Uh,
So,
DSO has a multiple units also, like if it is kg, for for another one it is liters, then how it will be aggregated?
so yeah, so suppose if you have multiple, okay, so one is base unit of measure, another one is sales unit of measure, right?
Mm,
So base unit of measure is basically the material unit of measurement. So if suppose your transaction on your DSO have two fields, so then it will create two uh, joins, two projections, like it will use two times. So it has a T1, right? So it will create T2.
okay,
Yeah.
and
So,
yeah, and whatever the remaining options, one you have deleted and activated, the remaining of remaining three options there.
uh, sorry, what is the options?
Options which were there HANA, HANA view or something like that. You have deleted, right?
Huh.
In that,
Okay, you're asking about uh, TSO, right? Here.
yeah, exactly. The remaining three options.
Yeah,
Second,
these all are the standard one, right? So this I think might be covered in other sessions, so that's why I'm not covering. So this is other one. So this composite provider can be added to another composite provider. So suppose if you want to use this composite provider as a info provider, yeah, and you want to use it in another composite provider, so you have to enable this checkbox. Then only you can include it.
mm,
So here in the scenario, have added DSO, right? The here I can add a composite provider also here.
okay,
Yeah. So it will support only the composite providers which are having that setting.
okay,
So this is a composite provider, right?
mm,
So and if you go and see this one, this will have that checkbox enabled. Otherwise, it will not show here. You
okay,
cannot add in the another composite provider. Okay. So that is the setting. Uh, log read access
Is it a
output.
best practice to have enable this option always when you create a composite provider?
It depends on the means requirement. So suppose if you think, okay, so I'm going to consume this composite provider in another composite provider. So then you will enable this one. Yeah, but if you are directly using it, if you if you know, right? So this is my final composite provider, and it will be used in the queries only. So I'm not going to consume it in any another composite provider. So then we will not enable that option. So basically, it will internally it will generate some additional metadata for this one, right? So whenever you do this one,
Yeah, right.
so it will create some metadata, and so if
Yeah,
it is not required, so no need to, because when you do activation, so it will generate that one, and and it will occupy some space, right? System resources. So if you know that it doesn't require, so then we will not enable that one. So it depends on the business requirement. Okay.
okay.
Yeah. So then we have created a query external HANA view on a composite provider. So, and also I've created a query on this composite provider. And here as well. So in the general, you will find this one, yeah, external SAP HANA view. So you have to enable this one. So once you enable, it will create in the under query. So this is the one. So it's a slight difference between uh, calculations views which are placed for the ADS4's composite provider and info object. So all of them will go here directly under system local BW4 HANA and calculation views. Yeah, but whereas the calculations views which are generated on query, so they will go under query and your info provider. Under in info provider, you can see your calculation view. Okay, so this is my calculation view because I have already enabled here, right? I've already enabled here and I saved it, right? So just let me uncheck it. So this is also will be deleted. Yeah? So if you uncheck and save it, let me refresh this. See nothing. So the calculation view under this is deleted. Yeah? Now and again I will enable save. Yeah, the calculation view is created. So in the view, okay, let me show. So in my composite provider, so my uh, this query is created on a composite provider. Yeah, my SDCP001. But I have my composite provider has many fields. Okay, so 7, 8 fields. But I used only 3 fields here. Okay, I haven't consumed everything in my query. So your view also will be generated only with those 3 fields. Okay, go to view. Okay, so if you see this one, all my composite provider has all these fields, right? So they all are what it will do, it will make them as hidden, the request, the basic all those details, and it will have only the 3 fields because I have used only 3 fields in my query. Okay, you can see the data, query data, calculation view. Okay, so the unit, order number, order item, PPLN and fastener, and quantity. Okay, so yeah, so all 3 views are created. So we created a composite view and a composite provider, advanced DSP and query. So then now we'll go and see the admin whether all they are all valid or not. Okay, go to
So Ravindra,
admin.
when you say that a certain calculation view based on a query is valid or not, does it mean that it just checks whether all the prerequisites are met, or are there some other checks also?
Other checks are this one. Other checks are these, right? So the restrictions, yeah. So if you see,
Okay, so the restrictions and the prerequisites, those checks are done.
yes, yeah.
So
While
even if we
generating,
don't follow them, we can still create a calculation view, but it's not necessary that it is going to be valid and can be
yes,
used. Okay.
yeah, yeah. Okay, so the admin, I'll check for my okay. So these are the views I have created. You can check, you can filter with your user ID, and then you can validate whether all of them are valid. So okay, let me select all. Not select this one. I don't want to select. Oh, okay. Either you select all, you select one by one. Okay, it doesn't support exclude one. Okay. So I'm checking one by one. I'll check this. Okay. So all my views are valid, right? So all of them are green. That means they're valid. So they can be, because we have maintained everything, like all the prerequisites we followed, and we created as per the system requirement and prerequisites we followed, and limitations, everything we have followed. Okay, so you can see they are valid. Next is Yeah, BW web we already saw, so it doesn't support in our training system. Okay, we already done this one, deselect, and we already deselected and saw that it's deleted. Okay, so yeah, so we have done all these things. So next one is, yeah, so we are done with this. Yeah, this is the solution, external HANA view creation solution. You can do this practice. So the first session is done. We have created all of, yeah. Info object also, I think we haven't. It is not covered in this, but let us see how the info objects also. I have created for info object as well. Okay, so for info object, here it is. You can give this option. So external SAP HANA view for master data. So this is one. So I have created only for this one. So this to consume here. So if I create another info object, so this can be consumed, this HANA view. So it has created, right? So that HANA view can be used as a master data read here, because I have enabled that SAP HANA view. So when if suppose if you create different HANA view and you want to use different info object, and you want to, rather than loading the data directly, you want to use this material data, right? So then you call this view and you can place over there. It is taking, I think, entire list. Okay, so this topic again, I have another mock section, because here I think we don't have proper sample data to show it, but I have another session, I think in mock session like 24th or 25th. So at that time, I'll show you the real-time scenario. Yeah, so in which use cases we go for this HANA view, the HANA view on master data, and how to consume that one. So, and what are the advantages? So all those things with the real-time scenarios, business scenarios, I'll cover it. Okay. So, but for now you understand, right? So creation of the external HANA view, and this can be used in another info objects. Okay. Or so suppose if you go for this one also, you can create normal calculation view, and you can consume whatever the calculation view is generated here in another calculation view. Yeah, all these master data attributes and text can be consumed in the different calculation view. And also suppose if you want to directly generate a report, like reports like master data reports, right? So on this calculation view, you can directly create a report. You know, right? So view views will have different settings. So when you create a view, so it's based on the dimension and fact. Yeah. So basically, the first one will create as a dimension view. The second one will create a fact view. Fact, it's a cube view. Yeah. So that is the difference between these two. Okay. So with this, we have done the first lesson. Any questions? Yeah, before we move on to the mixed scenarios.
Yeah, fine.
Okay. Okay, then let us start the mixed scenarios. Okay, so mixed scenarios are basically combining the BW model and HANA models, right? HANA models in the sense like HANA calculation views, and BW models are like BW DSOs, composite provider, all these things. Okay, so we saw like how we generate BW, I mean, how to generate the external HANA view based on the BW model. So the other way,
எந்த
hello,
2 டம்ளர் எதுல காமி
அப்படின்னு 2 காப்பி போட்டேன்.
ஆமா 8 டம்ளர் தண்ணி
8 ஊத்துறதா?
அது
guys,
பத்தாது பெரிய குக்கர் வைக்கணும்
can you mute everyone, please, Preeti? Okay, thank you. Yeah, so the models which are generated in the native HANA, so they can be consumed in the BW, and the BW generated HANA views can be consumed in HANA views. So they are, it depends on the business requirement. We will decide and where to use and which scenario, and so these are mixed scenarios. Okay. Okay, so I'll show you. So you can read out this one. So basically, what is a SAP HANA model and BW modeling, right? Right, we already. So the BW modeling, what are the advantages with the BW modeling? So BW is more powerful in analysis authorizations. Yeah. So that's the reason. So even in the embedded analytics, like in the S4, it will have BW, right? BW on HANA is embedded on the S4 system. So you can create a view, and that view is again included in the composite provider. Okay, so view on the SAP HANA models, SAP HANA tables. So directly, suppose if I want to create a view on the sales orders, so I'll join VBAK and VBAP tables, and then I'll create a join view, and that view I'll consume it in composite provider, and I'll create a on the composite provider I'll create a query, and I'll use analytic analysis authorizations. Yeah, so that is the advantage. So analysis authorizations are more powerful than HANA authorizations. Yeah, so that is the advantage with the mixed scenario. And PW content lifecycle. Yeah, so and also in the BW we have this data lifecycle aging. So you know, right, the hot cold storages, and partitions, and also it has planning, IP is also it have semantics. We have semantics BW on hierarchies, yeah, and analytics manager features. So these are the features in the BW, okay. And the advantages with SAP HANA modeling is like they can be consumed anywhere, and also it support different, like in the front ends, like query and many others, they support this one. Okay, and modeling is quite flexible. So because it's directly we are joining the tables, right? So HANA tables. So you can build whatever the model you want. See, in the BW, so we have some limitations, right? So you have to create data sources, and then you have to consume. So, but in this one, it is they're quite flexible. You with SQL, you can build more complex scenarios also. Yeah, and by combining these two features, so the hybrid will have the advantages of it. Hybrid is like you can combine the advantages in this both the modelings, SAP HANA modeling and also the BW modeling. Yeah, so these are like consumption of BW HANA views in HANA views, native HANA. Okay. SQL front ends or clients. So this can be this HANA data can be consumed even another tools, third party tools, or any other front ends. Directly HANA views they can expose and they can be consumed. And so once we create external HANA views, so they can be used in the HANA modeling and independent of the services. So, and when you are using this calculation view in another calculation views, so they are more flexible, right? So you can create n number of layers, and you can leverage all the advantages of the HANA modeling. So whatever so sometimes like in the mixed scenario, so what happens? Okay, I have created BW model, yeah. So my composite provider having the data, and I want to combine it with the SAP HANA model, and then I want to reuse it again back into the BW modeling. So these are the like in typical uh, mixed scenarios. So in those cases, what we do, like we'll create a composite provider, and we create a TS1 composite providers, and we enable we generate external HANA views and create native HANA views on top of these external HANA views by combining additional data which is coming from different additional sources, yeah, and then you consume that view back into the BW. Okay, so you consume you add the view as the union of the composite provider, and you join with additional GSO. So then again you can create an additional query on top of this. Yeah, so those type of scenarios you can go for this one. So in this today's lesson, I'll show you one scenario, like uh, with the uh, suppose if I have sales order data in BW. Okay, so sales order header and item in the BW, and my delivery is not in the BW. Suppose if it is coming from the external data sources, yeah, so from external, suppose some third party tools which are providing like the SQL or Oracle database, I'm extracting the data into my HANA database directly, and then I mix this one like sales order and delivery and finally I can consume it in the composite provider to show it in a single report, my both sales order and what are my sales orders and what is the delivery against each sales order. So the type of reporting we can do with the mixed scenarios, like when the data is from the different sources. Okay. Yeah. So for consuming, so we have to generate a HANA views, and then only we can consume them in the HANA calculation views. Whereas in data coming from HANA to BW, okay, so these all are some scenarios. So consume HANA data in SOP reporting, yeah, real time without traditional data loading. Yeah, so this is the advantage. So in HANA, so we directly read the transactional data, right? The table. So it is a OLTP system. The HANA views are directly created on OLTP. So the transaction, so it's a live data and it's a real time. Yeah. So when user, suppose if you create a HANA view on a BBAP table, so what are the transaction user create new sales order, so immediately it will reflect in our report, and we are not storing data anywhere, so it will store this space as well, yeah, TP space. And yeah, so it will avoid the traditional data loading. So in the BW in OLAP, because we extract the data and we store it even in nightly led. So suppose you want to show the real-time data, so hourly or load has to be happen. So all those are can be avoided using directly consuming HANA views in BW reporting. Yeah, and avoiding development cost, data redundancy. So because in the BW modeling we do the redundancy, right? So we store two places. So tables, so it is there in the S4 or ECC, and we bring into BW and we use it, right? So it's a redundant. And latency. So generally, the most of the loads happens every day night, right? So the data will be available for the next day morning. So it's a latency. But when they are consuming HANA directly, so this is the advantage. So immediately it will be available. Whatever the transaction happens there, immediately you can show it, see in the report. Consume HANA data with full uses of BW scenarios. So like, yeah, caching, statistics, authorization, data tiering, optimization. Yeah. So HANA is virtual and it has very good advantages, but it also has some disadvantages. Like it doesn't support OLAP functionality, right? So BW having all the performance related like caching. So once the report is executed first time for some selection, so the system will maintain all the data in the cache, and the second user, suppose if you execute, he also execute for the same selections, so on the same company code and some same year, so then it will execute very quickly, yeah, because it will maintain the caching. So that's the advantage. So when you are consuming HANA models, because you are building, when you are consuming in the HANA model, in the sense like you include HANA view in a composite provider and you will create a query, right? So when you create a query, all the OLAP functionality you are including. So it will have that caching and everything it will support. And also the statistics, yeah. And authorizations, like analytical authorizations, so BW analytical authorizations are more powerful, and it will be, they are very easy to maintain, right? Because they are role based, so the security can easily assign for the new users, and so there are a lot of advantages with the authorization BW. So when you are consuming HANA models in the BW, so all those can be used, yeah. And data tiering. Data tiering optimization is hard code and consume HANA data with existing BW metadata framework. This means reuses of existing info of the text hierarchies and navigational attributes as well. Yeah. So this is a very very good advantage. So in real-time scenario, we use this option here. So we already discussed it, right? Like info object. In the info object, we have option of direct assignment. Another one is HANA view. Yeah. So this point is basically referring that one. So if you have info object and suppose my in SAP HANA, I have a material number. Yeah. But in the BW, we already maintain the master data, right? So in the BW, we have already loaded for that material number. We have already loaded all the attributes, and we have maintained hierarchy, and we have given we have maintained text, and everything is maintained. Okay. So if you directly assign that info object, that field to the info object in the composite provider, so all the BW info object features will be are enabled. Okay, so let me show you this one. So this is a very good advantage. So when you are mapping any HANA view here, so I have created. So now I have used only DS4, right? So let me add a HANA view here. Yeah, we have options, right? So we can directly we can use info provider or HANA view in the composite provider. So if I use the HANA view, so HANA view is a field based, right? And our BW modeling is info object based. So it supports both field based and info object based. So let me check if we have any HANA views on sales. Yeah, just I'm taking this as an example. Some billing. I want to join my orders with the billing, so I can do that in this composite provider. I want to see is it having a material, yeah. So material is there here. So material as a material number, right? It doesn't have any additional details like it's what are the attribute material group. So everything I have to maintain. Okay, so if you see here the material group and everything. So but if I use my consume it the HANA view in a BW model. So suppose I'll add the material here, material. Okay, here I can do the assignment with the info object. Hey, so this is already done, already assigned the info because I have used zero material. So here these are the options. So nothing. So nothing means whatever the view it is, whatever the field which is coming from HANA view, it is used here. Yeah. So if with this option it is actual single field. Okay, one single field. But when you assign info object here, yeah, my zero material, when I assign my zero material, okay, so what happens? So my zero material has all the attributes, right? So and text and attributes, and even it might have the hierarchy. So my report, the composite provider, and also in the report, you can directly use all the navigational attributes of this material, display attributes of all this material. So everything can be directly consumed in the BW query. So that's the advantage. Otherwise, if you want to do it in directly in the HANA view, and if you are building a report, so you have to create text views and attribute views, yeah, multiple views, and all of them you have to do the join in the HANA view. So there's a lot of work and lot of development effort is required. But when you are doing a hybrid, you are mixing with the HANA view in the BW, yeah. So this is the advantage. So you utilize the BW functionality of master data and all their navigational hierarchy and everything. Yeah, so that is the advantage. So this, any questions on this? Are you clear? This is very important and very helpful when you are handling mixed scenarios. Okay. Yeah, existing info object text hierarchies and all of them can be consumed. And leverage OLAP capabilities like handling non-cumulative key figures, yeah, hierarchy processing, compounding, and exception. So all this will support, even though, so all this will support when you are doing the field, because HANA is a field level reporting, right? Field and field based, and when you do the field based to info object based mapping, when you do that, so then it will enable all these options. And consume HANA data in BW integrated planning. So BW will support IP, right? So HANA data can be consumed in our planning, integrated planning. So these are the reasons why we go for mixed scenarios. So basically, these are the advantages. So actually, the more advantages in the real time is this direction. So actually, in the real time, HANA is consumed in the BW. Means if we have both like BW on both HANA, so HANA is consumed the BW. It will have more advantages. Okay. Yeah, and
Yeah, I
also,
can you
right.
explain the scenario once again? If you...
Okay. So advantages, right? So which one?
Yeah, in the HANA one, like you have explained, right?
Okay. So okay. So uh, my billing data is in HANA. Okay. Sales order data is in BW. I have sales order data in here, and the billing data in HANA calculation view. In the mixed scenario, I have option to club the sales order because billing is coming just I'm assuming like billing is coming from the different sources. Okay, that is the reason we created a calculation view on this billing. Okay, and sales order information is available here. So now when I create a calculation view, uh, so how you do the HANA modeling? How we do the HANA modeling? So we create for master data, we create multiple views, right? So for attribute, we create one HANA view. Yeah. Let me show. Have you worked on HANA views before? Do you have knowledge on native HANA?
Actually, in training I have done, like it's been 3 years actually.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So in native HANA, in the native HANA modeling, it doesn't have this one, right? So the info object, that concept doesn't
Yeah.
there. So what we do, we create master data views, which are like of type the dimension, the calculation view of type dimension, and we create a view for the text. suppose material text is MAKTL, right? So the table is MAKT. I think that table name. So you use that table to create to get the text, and MARA is for the all attributes and attribute information. So you have to create view with all these attributes, and when you have to do the join all your attribute view and text views in your calculation and the transactional calculation view, yeah, so which is of type view. So you will join them, right? So both of them to use all the attributes, and again every field you have to, suppose if you want to material group and material type, so suppose if you want to add all of them, you have to uh, add all them explicitly in your transaction calculation view, right? So and also you have to, for the text display in the semantics, you will go to the semantics, and in the semantics you have to define, okay, this is the text for this field. All those things you have to do it manually, right? So it's a lot of work when you are doing it. Yeah. So okay, I'm trying to see that semantics and show you. Okay, so this is actually this one is transaction, but when you are creating a calculation views, you have all these options, right? So is it a dimension or a cube?
Yeah.
So for all your master data, you will create as a dimension, right? So and you will consume that in your transaction calculation view.
Yeah.
Yeah. So suppose if you want to utilize 10 attributes of that master data material, so all 10 you have to explicitly add all of them, so that it will take a lot of time, a lot of effort for your development. Yeah. So, but in the mixed scenario, if you assign that material to your info object, yeah, here when you are assigning, so material to material, so I'm assigning the calculation view to my composite provider. When I am doing the assignment, I have options here. So either you say nothing, in by default it will come with the nothing. Yep. So if it is a nothing, so it is just as a single field. Okay, so whatever the material number, suppose if it is a 10 character length, right? The material is 10 character length. So that the material number will be displayed and it will not show any text or anything. Okay, but when you do it with the info object assignment, yeah, so and you give the zero material as a info object, okay, so the material whatever the attribute, so you already every day you are getting the data from the S4 HANA system, right? And so whatever the data you get for the material, so all the attributes and you do the loading, right? So that loaded information, the hierarchies and text and attributes. So suppose if you have a navigational attributes in this one, all of them are directly available in the composite provider. And in the query, when you are creating the query, it is available. So it is advantage, right? So if you do the reporting directly on this calculation, you have to explicitly create all of them. So all
Yeah.
attribute, text, and everything, and you don't have option to create hierarchy. Means you want to create hierarchy again, that is a separate task.
Yeah.
So everything, it's a simple, like in the single assignment, everything is available.
Okay.
So yeah, that's the advantage with a mixed scenario.
Okay.
Yeah, all these are yeah. So all these are I think in the mock sessions we have some mock sessions, right? So we can see in the real-time scenarios. I also have one mock session. I'll cover in that. So in the real time, how we use it. So the real-time scenarios. So you will understand more what are the advantages with the mixed hybrid modeling.
Okay.
Okay. So then next move on to virtual access to data. So open ODS there, right? I think it was already covered in the previous session. So so you can create open ODS on HANA view, and that can be consumed in the composite provider. Yeah. And the other one is you can directly consume external HANA view in the BW object, like in the composite provider. So that we already saw, right, just now. So we have this is a calculation view. So this we directly use here, like in the composite provider. You can add HANA view, which is virtual, yeah, directly either info provider or HANA view. So we can directly add it here. Okay. So BW HANA schema as an external source, like in the external schema, then we can combine in the BW final composite provider and reporting. So this is what it's explained. So you can use OpenODS viewer or a composite provider for virtual uses. Okay. So HANA view can be consumed in the OpenODS and also in the composite provider. So that is a virtual one, right? So how we consume, and mixed scenarios in the physical replication. So from the physical replication is like from the open ODS, right? We know, like, so in the advantage, I think you might be already covered, right? Previous session. So open ODS, so initially it has a lot of advantages. So when we are doing the prototyping, right? So first we'll go for the virtual with open ODS, and then we can convert it into the physical replication. All the field based, and then we can convert it into the DSO, so the open ODS. Yeah, so that is one, the physical replication. Another one is with the smart data and smart data as smart data integration. So we can extract the data from HANA models or native or HANA models, HANA database, or even any additional external data. And then we can replicate data into BW system. And the other option is based on the open hub destination. So that is also physically we can send data from one system to the another system, right? So these are the what mixed scenarios with the physical replication. So how we send the data, like from the BW, suppose if you want to send the physical data from, so still now we saw, like the generated external HANA views, they are the virtual, right? So the data is still there in the BW only, but suppose if you want to store the data in SAP HANA tables. Okay, so you have a data in ADSO, or you have a data in a info object, so that you want to physically load it in some HANA tables. So how can you do that? So using the Open Hub destination, you can push the data from BW to SAP HANA. Yeah, and suppose if you want to get the data from HANA to BW4, SAP HANA to BW, so that is ODP, right? So we have a source system connection. So using that, you can get the data. You can on HANA view, you can create a data source based on the HANA view, and you can extract the data into BW. Okay, even on the CDS views, you can create a CDS view on HANA tables, and you can create a data source on CDS view, and that data can be extracted into BW. So that is another one. And the other option is like smart data integration. So with using the smart data integration, using the tool, you can transfer data directly, right? From one the table data in SAP HANA, you can directly bring it to the SAP BW HANA. Basically, the mixed scenarios is more like it's a theoretical, like how we do that. Like, but the business scenarios I'll show you. So once we cover this one, yeah. Next is generated HANA views. Okay, so this is one mixed scenario. So we can club the generated HANA views in the HANA views, and also HANA. We already saw this one, right? So vice versa. Okay, so different scenarios are given here. Here BW1 is they create the generated calculation views, and in the HANA we have a HANA views, and then club all these and then consume it in a report. So these are the different examples like business scenarios. Here the BW4 HANA data, and so this has generated external HANA view, and here the external HANA view is clubbed with additional HANA view, and the new HANA view is again bring it back to the BW using virtual data virtualization, like using the open ODS view or consuming in the composite provider. Yeah, so either of these two. So the data means it is basically it depends on your business requirement. So these he has given some examples here, but in real time we'll build it based on the requirement, and so there are many aspects to be considered, like so the performance, yeah, and what is the size of our database. So suppose if you want to uh, suppose if you have a both BW system, right, and the cost of the BW is more when compared to the S4 HANA licensing. Suppose if you want to increase more additional data in the BW, so the cost is more. So in those scenarios, so the client may not be interested to maintain all this, may not be interested to increase his DB size. Okay, so in those scenarios, so based on uh, the client requirement and system size, so we give the recommendation. Okay, so in this case you go for so they even there are additional, so in this actually here in this section he has covered only few like a HANA database and a BW database, right? So but in real time, so there are many options like SQL server. So that is another option we recommend for the customers. So SQL server is when the the cost wise it's very cheap. Okay, when compared to the HANA server, and HANA DB cost and even all the user license. So what we do, so store the, if suppose if you want to have store the historical data, so all the historical data will be pushed into the uh, SQL database, or suppose with the data which is not very frequently used and which is in very high volume, so that can be maintained in the SQL database and we can directly uh, consume that when using the smart data access. We can read the data and uh, so smart data access is the virtual, right? So then we can create models on that smart data access data and directly consume it in the S4 HANA, like in the embedded analytics itself. So in the suppose if you when you are going for the embedded analytics, even you don't require BW4 HANA system. So it has inbuilt BW. So all the means we will it doesn't require even the extraction and all those things, right? But you can still use the BW functionality. Okay, so in those cases you will go for in the sometimes what happens when you are using the HANA view, so it will have and suppose if there are number of users, suppose if it's a 50 or 100 users are using uh, the models which are directly created on HANA views, right? So they use the same OLTP tables, right? So the when it will have an impact on transaction users. So suppose if they are creating some the billing transaction entry, or they're doing some sales transaction, or they're doing some financial transaction. So at the same time, suppose if 100 users are using reporting on the same tables, so what happens? It will badly impact the performance of the transaction. So in those cases, so depends on the number of users, okay, and volume of data. So you will go for all these mixed scenarios. So then we'll say, okay, if you have that much of volume and those many users are, and you have a bad performance on your transactions, so then we'll say, okay, then go for staging. So then you go for you maintain the data in, you replicate the data into BW, then so the load will be reduced on the HANA server. Yeah. So these are the mixed scenarios. So there is no hard and fast rule in the when you it's coming to the mixed scenarios, like where to load the data and whether we go for HANA view or we can go for BW modeling. It all depends on business requirement. Yeah, it's driven by the business. So basically architects will decide. So which modeling we have to use, and so when we are doing all this will be come into the picture: the cost, the DB size, number of users, and the number of reports and number of records and history, like how much history is required. So suppose if some user says that, okay, some business client says that, okay, I don't want to retain my last 10 years of data. I mean, it's fine. I am fine to have that 2-3 years of data. So then we can go for one solution. Yeah. So all these. So here have given some examples like what are the different mixed scenarios. So, but it will be the decisions are taken on ad hoc basis based on the business requirement, on the performance, system performance. All those things will be coming to the picture. Okay. Okay, let me show you in the system one mixed scenario. So we created calculation views right here in the sales order and sales order and item we have created here. So then now I want to consume it in my HANA. Yeah. Uh, in the HANA view, and that HANA view again I want to on the HANA view I want to create a include in the composite provider and create a query. So that is one mixed scenario. So we'll try to do that one. So we created sales. So my delivery is in another table. Yeah. So delivery, suppose my delivery is not in my BW data. So which is coming from external. So in that case, so what we have to do is we'll create a table and maintain the delivery data in a table. So for that I have created a table. Yeah, you have to go to catalog. All tables can be created in the catalog. Okay, so my delivery data, I have created a table. So you can create a table either using a SQL script or manually. Yeah, so if you want to create a table manually, you can say new table, and all the fields and the field uh, data type and everything, length has to be maintained, and you can create so data type, and so you can give the name and you can create. Yeah, so using the graphical, you can use SQL also. You can create a table and you can directly yeah, you can create using SQL. And there is another option. So suppose if you have some flat file, yeah, so you have a data in a flat file, so you can create a table using the flat file, and you can, suppose there have been data also, you can directly import. So for that you have to go import SAP HANA content, yeah, data from local file. So on which DB I want to create, yeah, in which system. Here you have to select your flat file. So it supports only these formats. Suppose if you are doing it from the flat file, it will support CSV, Excel, and XLS. Yeah? And you can, how many, if it is having a header, so header row, and import all data, and where it has to import in which schema. So my schema is DB file, and I want to give this is my table. So it will show all the mapping, yeah, and how the data is going to show. Will show everything. You want to change some special characters, okay? You can change this field name and all data types you can validate. It's not the integer, it's a varchar. Yeah. So like this, you can create a table and directly export the data, import data if you have any flat file. And it can even the tables can be extracted from other sources as well, other source system. Okay, so I'm not creating because I have already created a table. So you can, for your practice, you can do this. Yeah. So if you have some flat file, you can export data. Suppose if you are working in some project, you just export some small chunk data set, and you can import and you can do your practice. So my delivery is lips is my delivery data. I have data in this. Okay, I have data. So I can consume this in my HANA view. So this is a native HANA view. Yeah. So still now we saw like the HANA views which are created, which are generated, right? So based on TS4. So here we can create native HANA views. So for that, to go to content. Okay, we can create HANA views. So right click on now view. Delivery. Okay, type is calculation standard, and this is a cube because it's a transaction data. So to select it's a cube. First, you have to use the projection to bring all the required fields. Yeah. So lips delivery is my table, and it is in the schema. So I want to use all these fields, all my delivery, document number, delivery item, delivery date, material number, order. Okay, so here I have a order number and order item, right? So with this one, I can join with the sales order, which are generated from the ADSO. So we know, right? So VBAP is the table. So we have created a DSO. SD002 is on top of VBAP. So for delivery has to be joined with the sales order item. So I will add a join condition here. And I'm going to consume the external HANA view, which we generated in the first lesson. Yeah. So this one is my native HANA table. I'm joining this with my sales order data, which is there in the BW. Okay. So I'll take another projection. GSD SD002. Yeah, 00SD2 SDCP, sorry. CP. Yeah, this is the one. It is the CP001, right? So this is the one we have created an SD02 DSO. On top of it, we created a composite provider, and we created a external HANA view and a composite provider. So yes, this CP is the composite provider 001. So this is having PBAP, yeah, sales order item data. So I'm selecting this one. Yes, I'll rename it as a Lips is a delivery item, and I'll join it as P underscore VBAP. VBAP is order item. Um, so here I don't want info provider, so I'll select only the fields which are required. So I need uh, order quantity, material from here, and material order item, order number, order quantity. So only these 4 fields are required from here. Here we have taken everything, and I'll do the join here. I want to use left table, so I'll use inner join. No, I'll use left outer join because it is not mandatory that every order to have delivery, right? So it is, so some are still open orders, so they may not have deliveries, right? So I want to get all the records from my order detail, and which are having already, which are having deliveries for that sales order. So I want to read it from this delivery. Yeah, so this delivery is in my HANA, and this one is BW generated HANA view. Yeah, so this I'm clubbing both of this here. Yeah, this is the mixing scenario. Now I'll use the join here. Join is my order number. Order number is there in the delivery. So I'll join in my, so we'll have space. Order number, order item. Okay, and I'll define my join type as a left outer join. My cardinality can be into many. So one order can have multiple deliveries. So one to many. Okay, so have done, and I'll add all these to output. From here also I'll put join it here to my aggregation layer and rename it as underscore BBAP and lips. Okay. Here from here I'll take everything. Yeah. So I have delivery number, sales order number, everything. Yeah, both the delivery quantity, order quantity is how much, and what is the delivery quantity, and the delivery date when it was delivered. So I have all the details. So now I'll propose it to auto assign. So these are our order quantity and delivery quantities are measured. The rest of all are attributes. I don't want any parameters for now. Activate it. Activation is running. Yeah, the plan is once this is done, so I'll use this and again I'll use this HANA view in composite provider, and I'll create a query on composite provider. So it's basically a real mixed scenario. So orders I'm bringing from BW and delivery I'm getting from some external, and I'm clubbing it in native HANA, and then again I am pushing this to this HANA view, again I'm consuming in BW, and I'll create a query on that, on top of that. So I'll use all the BW functionality, like all my analytical cache, everything can be utilized. Failed. Okay, authorization user is not authorized. Okay, because I have created this DBSME package, right? So I have to assign these authorizations, privileges. Yeah, I have to, for that one, I have to go to user. I have to go to security. There we have to provide authorization for, because this delivery is a new table, right? So I have created. So I have to object level authorization for my user ID, so I can use it here. So I'm going to BWSMA. Okay, so the object privileges, we have to give that object. Okay, so if you see here, yeah, so the generated object I told you, right? So the generated objects by default, when we all the prerequisites will be properly maintained, so they will be assigned to the user, right? So if you see here, all these system generated the external HANA views, they are added here, yeah, basic object privileges of my user ID. So how it is done is like, because I have maintained it, so in SU01 maintained, I linked the BW user with the HANA database user, right? So that's the reason it has assigned all these privileges here. So that is the reason I am able to consume this one, right? So I'm able to create a, I mean, I'm able to view the data, and I'm unable to create another view on top of these. But I'm getting the error because my delivery, yeah, which is the table which I have created in HANA database directly. So this is the system has granted all this. So for that one, the table privilege I have to add here. So I add the table, the lips underscore delivery. Okay, so lips I'm adding here. So I'll select what are the privileges. So I want to give my select privileges. I'm not going to do any update uh, or anything. Stable entries, yeah. So grant for others, or only for me, for this user. I'll use select. I'll use for everyone, but update and delete I want to give only for me. I've given the privileges. So let me wait. It is not allowing. I think some system or security has to give. See, because I am giving to myself grantor and grantee are myself, right? So I'm adding. I'm the grantor here. This is my user ID, and I am giving to my user. So that is the reason it is not allowing me to do this setting change, add these privileges. Uh, if anyone, others can, generally, yeah, in the real time, so only the basis or security team, they will do all these settings. So they will give they will include for the user. If somebody has already logged into the system, can they try giving to me, so then we can complete this, because it is not allowing me to assign it to myself. Can you add lips to my user ID? So this is the HTTPSME 05 is my user ID. Can you add this lips table for my user ID? Look, any one of you have access, system access?
Yeah, we have access, but I'm not sure whether we have that authorization.
Okay. Okay, so yeah, then I'll just explain theoretically. Yeah, so this is how it has to be done. Okay, so here once we assign this, so basically, so the security will do this. So once the assign this object to this user, yeah, so then it will allow to consume, because this table has to be consumed here, right? So this one is already there. If you see here, SDCP is already assigned because it's a generated object. Yeah, SDCP001. It's already assigned to this user HDBB estimate. But the problem here it is giving is the table which is created that has to be explicitly added in the object privileges. So as I don't have authorization to add it, so and this is not in my object privileges, so it's giving the error. Okay, so but okay, yeah. So in the real time, so what happens? So once if this has been done, so then the next step is because we joined here at both of these. Then let me explain the Excel. Yeah. So this generated, we have HANA DB. And here BW. So in this mixed scenario, what we are trying to do is here we have sales order data, sales order header and item, right? So we created this has been header is stored in ZSD001 and we stored this one in ZSD002. Yeah, and we created a calculation view on this one. Okay, so this one we haven't used in a composite provider. This used in a composite provider GSDCP001 is the composite provider, and here we created the external HANA view generated. Right, so it is the same name GCD. So it has the item data and this has a header data. Okay, so that is what these are the generated objects, and here we have delivery lips underscore. So this is delivery data. Okay, so now what we are trying to do is we already generated this one. Okay, and so it is available here, and we already have a table here. Okay, so what we are trying to do, we are joining this because the delivery can be joined uh, with the sales order item. Yeah, so this we are trying to join in a new view. Item. Okay, So once we generate this, so it will have order delivery. Suppose if we create like that, so then it will have sales order item and delivery. So it will tell like, okay, so for this order, how much is delivered. Okay, so then this view, we can again come back to here. So first we created here and we exported and we consumed here the HANA view. So this is one mixed scenario. So this is from BW to HANA. Yeah. So generated object we consume here. So it is one direction. So the next one is again this delivery data we have already combined, right? So delivery and sales order. So then we can directly we create one more composite provider here. Okay, so here sales order header is already there, right? So join ADS4. Yeah, so this sales order header ADS we already have. So join this with order delivery calculation with HANA view. Okay, so once we do this, the composite provider also we have option of right? So composite provider supports joins and union. Yeah, so now with the join you can join the sales order and this one. Here we already joined item and this one. So once we do the join here and consume it and create a query on this composite provider. Okay, so it will have both. That means it's finally it is clubbing the order data which is there in the BW and delivery data, and finally it is generating in the BW. So and so so the advantage of joining the correlating generating here is like you can it is really have a material, right? So the sales order material and delivery material. So that you can enable it in a you can link it with the zero material info object here when you are joining this composite provider. If you do that, so then you will utilize the option of info object which is already loaded. All the hierarchy and everything can be used, attributes and material text and everything. Okay, so then it will so basically a complete scenario which covers all the uh, options like here to here generated object in native HANA and again native HANA view in the BW and also the native HANA master data in the BW. So this will cover all the scenarios. So I thought of explain means physically showing this, but yeah, due to privileges we can. But you can practice this one. Yeah, when while you are doing your exercise, you try this option. So this will give you the complete picture of the mixed and hybrid scenarios. So this is one. So like this, you can create. Yeah. So based on your business requirements, so you can. So these all are basically given some examples. Yeah, different scenarios and examples. You can try it out. So by added several calculation columns, then generate new KPI. So here it is different business examples. How do you enhance the SAP HANA model with creating external HANA views in the BW objects and the key to modeling mixed scenarios? Yeah, because earlier in the older, like I think even it is available in BW on HANA. Prior to that, like BW 7.3, it doesn't support, right? So creation of external HANA views doesn't support. So there we don't have this hybrid scenarios options, because now we have option creation of external HANA views. So we can able to create all these hybrid scenarios, hybrid mixed scenarios, and also the BW managed master data mixed scenarios.
Ravi, can we have a break?
Breaker?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Okay, we have now it's 12:30. So shall we come back after 10 minutes? 12:35.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Ravi, this one PDF which you are having, is that been box folder?
Yeah, this one I'll upload. Even you can, it is there in the SAP Learning Hub. The same BW462.
We
go
have
here.
a version 19. This is, I think, version 18. So I think this is having exercises.
Okay. Yeah, I'll upload this one now.
Yeah, please. Yeah, thank you. And share the link, which where you are, which folder you are uploading.
Yeah. So all these are, think in the one, all the materials. So the PPTs and all these are in a single place. So Preeti will coordinate. She'll once all this uploaded, she'll let you know. Okay. So yeah, we'll be let us come back in next 10 minutes. So 12:37, 12:27 now. We'll come back at 12:37. Okay. Hello. Hello, are you back?
Yes.
Okay, we'll give one more minute for everyone to come back. Hello, sir. Shall I start? Okay, hope everyone come back. Okay, let us start. So yeah, here in this, he has given this one scenario. So all these are like, as I said, so these all are different scenarios. Yeah, so you can practice all these, some of these. So in this, he has given, right? So the create the sales order in this mixed scenario. So the sales side, sales data is outside of BW. Okay, he's assuming. So in our example, yeah, we thought like, okay, delivery is outside, but sales is in within the BW, right? So in this scenario, he's saying, assuming that sales data is outside the BW, and purchase orders are available in SAP BW. Okay, but not the sales order. So then he is trying to join the sales order with the purchase orders. Yeah, so this is another scenario. So different scenarios, and also he's saying that like model the sales order in SAP HANA Studio, because the assumption is it is not available in the BW, right? So only purchase orders are available, but sales orders are not available within the BW. So model sales orders in SAP HANA. So like how we have created delivery, right? So create a separate table in HANA Studio, and then HANA Studio in the sense like Eclipse. So then create a view on top of it and then consume it in BW. So here he's saying that model sales orders in HANA Studio and enhance them and with the master data as info object. So we already discussed this, like the material. We can create a material master material in the BW and then create just assign material number, and so it will with the info object, right? So similar scenario, and he has given like how to practice. So yeah, so but unfortunately we don't have option to create in the SAP HANA because of the privileges. Okay, so but if once you check with the team, like if you once you get the privileges, so you can practice this. Yeah, mixed scenario, you can create a calculation view. So the example which I showed, I think it's easy to practice. So you can practice the sales orders in BW and delivery in HANA calculation view, and also material in the BW and material number in HANA Studio. From there you bring it. So these two scenarios you can practice. Yeah, all these are basically explaining different mixed scenarios and how to practice them. And here is one more. How do you enhance the SAP HANA model with the data managed in BW? There's no alternative but integrate all data process and distribute, perform integrated reporting there. Creating external HANA views from SAP HANA object is the key modeling. Again, it's also here also the same thing. So here step by step he has explained how to create the calculation view. Yeah, that we already saw in the system. All these we already created, right? So we created projection and we did the join. And the final will be the aggregation. So there will define and yeah. So once it's created, so we have a different views in the HANA view. In the HANA, you have option to graphical representation. So as of now, we saw the raw data, right? So, but even we have options to see the data in graphical representation and analysis. Okay, so you can see all of them. Close these. Okay, so this data is there here, right? So the leaps. Also we cannot use it. So I want to show the different views of graphical still now we saw the raw data. So just we can, I think you, some of you might be working on HANA, so you already know. So just it's for the interest of those who are new to SAP HANA, native HANA. Okay, so I'll take this. Okay, so when we say data preview, so we have options to view raw data. Yeah, so if you see here, this here we have options to see the raw data, right? And when you go to analysis, so here again, here you have a table, chart, and grid. So okay, different options. So in the analysis, so you want to see the chart. Yeah, so it will show you the representation. Okay, chart representation. So here you can see uh, different type of vertical bar chart, horizontal charts. This is the virtual one, horizontal, and pie chart. Yeah, so different options. So for different sales order, okay, let me remove order, and yeah, you can suppose if you have a customer, it will, we can add customer also, like, so it will show for the customer, for each customer how many. Yeah, so all these like these are graphical representation, and you have table representation. So table in the raw data, you see everything, right? But if you want to see like our report, like in the BW query, how you see, so like that you can rows and columns you can add, and you can see the data, and even the grid representation, right? So these are the HTML. So these are the different representations are available. Okay, so that's what it's showing here. So you can see once you create a model, so you can basically visualize how it is going to display for users. Like suppose if you use SAC analytics for cloud, it's basically graphical representation, right? It's a pictorial representation. So that you can visualize here itself, like how my SAC model is going to look like. Yeah. So you have, SAC will have more pictorial options, but here, like with the, it has some minimum options to see that data. Okay. So this is a data flow. Yeah, that's it. Basically has given some examples, so you can uh, practice this. But yeah, to practice that, you need the access, yeah, privileges. Basically, we are missing that. Otherwise, would have been done some practice now. So yeah. if you have any other system, if you are already working on in your project, you can just create a test model and you can do this practice as mixed. Okay, any questions?
So, Ravindra, I mean, we have these mock projects, right? So, without this access, how we'll do that? I mean,
The mock project is basically the live data we show. Live
okay,
data in the sense like the real project.
okay.
That is what I understood. Preeti, correct me if I'm wrong. So are we going to do it this training, or is it just what project we are doing it? Is it on the original project?
No, I think there were some mock projects would be given. That's what I heard. I'm not sure. I need to check with. People.
Okay, yeah, let me tell you this, Deepak. So there is a mock project which will be handed over to them, and they need to complete that in a week time. Okay, and once
Okay.
that is completed, after that they will be joining, that project dummy scenario, those things. So there is a like the mock project already created. So they just need to go through with that, and they need to build those objects and scenarios.
Okay, okay. Okay, I thought like mock project in the sense like we will show the actual project demo. Oh, okay,
No,
okay.
no, that will come later. That will come later. Like if you see na, after training is completed, like
Okay,
session is completed, 1 week time frame is for mock project, and after
okay.
that we have project shadowing.
Okay, okay, okay. Yeah, project shadowing. Sorry, I
Yeah, yeah,
combined that. Yeah, yeah. Project
yeah.
shadowing will cover all this. So basically, it's a real-time system, and which will have everything data and all the privileges will be there because it's a uh, the working projects. Yeah, so which
Yeah,
are live projects. But yeah, the mock. I think then Deepak, how can they do this because they missing some of these
yeah,
privileges,
yeah.
right?
Okay, so actually, I think we need to check with Preeti on this part. So maybe she need to work with the basis team to provide all the necessary privileges. So can you please drop a note to her, like if she can take care of all those things?
Yeah,
Because
sure.
I know in the mock project we have one scenario where they need to create the calculation views and all everything, and one scenario where they need to build the report completely in before HANA.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll have a call with Preeti. I'll just show her. Just
Hmm.
then she will take
Yes,
it with
please. It will be
basis.
great, so that she can take care of all those authorization thing in advance.
Yeah. Yeah, even client session client also. So those things has to be properly maintained. So then
Yeah,
everything will work correctly.
exactly. So if you can guide or if you can provide the details, so maybe she can work with basis team or she can provide you the authorization to perform all those actions before they work on mock project.
Okay, okay.
Or I
Yeah, I'll
think
have.
even for their day-to-day practice, this session also they might be needing those things. So please, work with Preeti so that she can help on those things.
Yeah, sure. I'll tell her. So does anybody created any calculation view? So I think we already have 1 week, right? So this is the second week. So I think last 1 week you might already covered, right? The calculation. So have anyone created any calculation view as of now? Any?
So this calculation view is on S4 or BW? Hello?
Yeah.
It should be in BW in HANA DB.
Okay, so we should have that authorization. Because I heard that I asked for authorization on S4 also, but they said they had some restrictions. But on BW side, they should be able to give all the authorization.
I think you should be having the access. Have you tried your access for before HANA DB? Have everyone tried the access? Like we have two systems. One is before and one is S4. So in the GUI we have checked in the access, but in the Eclipse we have to check our access in the in the before as well as on the HANA DB. So you all has already received a mail with the ID and password. So have you
Uh,
tried logging in into the HANA DB?
Yes, Deepak. I was
Yeah,
able to
Deepak.
log in.
Yeah, I've
Yeah.
been able to
Okay.
log in. But
Yeah.
Deepak, if you have some exercises, it will be good actually. It's not giving good directions actually. If you,
No, what kind of access which Ravindra has suggested those things?
not access actually, some exercises if you have,
Okay. So
which
like
will be
exercise, like he as Ravindra has suggested, like after the unit you have books, maybe you can perform from there.
no, at least this PDF is, I think today Ravindra explained that some
Mm-hmm.
has exercises if we upload, we can download and we can practice because this is something which is lacking in this actually. You simply only theoretical part is going on from the day one. There's no exercises properly defined. In case of SAC or DWC training, properly as a hands-on exercises were uploaded and we could able to create and we could able to visualize it. Similarly, this should be there here actually. It is a really for me, I would say that it's not very much helpful because I need to create everything. Everything is new to me, and I need exercises to follow it and get the result actually, like what Ravindra has done today.
Mm-hmm. So
Otherwise,
I think
it's
what I understood, like the first four sessions, those were more more of the theoretical one only, I think. So did you see any exercise in the unit from 1 to 4?
no, that is explaining everything from initially no exercises, right? Everything has been
Exactly. So
theoretical.
I
Yeah, from
exactly
last session only, it has been some kind of hands-on which we can do it.
exactly. So I think we should follow that particular
Yeah, for that
unit.
hands-on exercise document is not there, right? You creating the
Yeah, so we'll
Yeah.
upload this one. So it will have for all the
Oh,
units you
okay,
have
okay.
exercises. So basically every unit will have exercise. Yeah. So let me show you this one.
Mhm.
So if you go here, basically this is SAP training material. So it will have
well,
every
can you
session.
scroll up? What is the version? Can you scroll up? Page number 2. Above. Stop.
18, 18.
This one. This is the one. We need this. We actually
Okay,
practice.
so in 19 we don't have the exercise. Is it like that?
Correct. Yeah.
Oh, okay, okay. So Ravinder, can you please share this one? So
Yeah.
we can add, like, please share this with me. I will, or if you have available on that channel where all the participants are there, so you can maybe put it on that Slack channel, or you can ping it to me. I will share it there.
Yeah, I'll do that. Yeah, so if you see here, like every session has a exercise, yeah, even unit 1 onwards. So you have some exercises to
Yeah. We informed the
create a
PT
BW
also
query.
last class
Okay,
actually,
okay,
but we didn't get this version.
okay. Don't worry. I will share it today only. Okay.
Yeah, please. Yeah, thank you.
Mhm.
Yeah, here in the third is unit itself, you have a calculation view creation. Means if you have done this, you would have been come to know by this time, like there are any hurdles. Like if you create a table, so basically it is supporting for the generated model. I can create a view on top of already, if it is already generated model, and if I have access to that DB, uh, but it is not allowing to add new. Suppose if I create a new calculate table and then it is not allowing. So in unit 3, I think you have creation of calculation view, right? SAP HANA modeling.
Yeah.
I think you haven't done any exercises over there. So that's
We
the
just
reason.
created the objects after yesterday's last class.
Uh-huh.
But
Okay. So what exercise? Let us quickly look what exercise he is
Mhm.
having here. Calculation use. Okay. So create a package, then join. Yeah, here he has given, right? So join these tables, new tables, add the following tables. Okay. Okay, fine. So yeah, just we'll upload this so you can use this for your exercises. Okay.
Okay, Ravindra. Thank you.
Okay. So any other questions? So I'll stop recording. So if, you can ask if you have any other questions.
Any doubts means you can ping